Good morning and welcome to a special edition of It's How You'll Be Remembered. I am Julie Jones, your host and the Chief Encouragement Officer here at today's Professionals headquarters. And we have a very special guest today. Jeni Guidry is with us all the way from Lafayette, Louisiana, my old stomping grounds. Jeni, we're so glad you are here.
Thank you so much, Julie. I really appreciate being here today. I am honored to be your guest.
Oh, I am grateful that you are here with us today. So, this came about a couple of weeks ago. Jeni and I were talking. So, we are both Ziegler coaches, which is a really wonderful group. We are a tight knit group of people who support each other. And Jeni and I were having just a conversation, and we found that we ended up talking about customer service. Jeni is a successful entrepreneur in both the real estate market and the restaurant, the guest services industry and hospitality industry. And she mentioned a word that just struck a chord with me. She said, Julie, it's all about old fashioned customer service. And I was like, oh my gosh, we have to dive into this. So I am so grateful that you're taking your time today to talk about old fashioned customer service and the benefits of it.
Yes. Yes, it needs our world today needs a little bit more of that old fashioned service.
Right. Yeah.
I come from the old school of
Yeah.
old fashioned service.
Mhm.
So, using the golden rules, some people know that right off, but
Yeah.
others we need to explain. So, the golden rule
Yeah.
is, we want to be treated the way we want to treat others the way we want to be treated. So, the golden rule is
Yeah.
treat others as you would want to be treated.
And I know you do that. That's a rule that you live by in life, you know.
Um,
And by the way, we are live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. If you are catching this live, be sure and let us know where you're from and join in on the conversations. And in particular, we want to know who has great customer service. Like, who do you want to brag on today? And we also want to know, and you don't have to mention names on this one, but what are your customer service fails like out there? Have you had a bad experience? And you don't have to mention names, but just share your experience with us because we want to hear from you during this live. So yeah, I mean, Jeni is a real estate broker, and for years had a successful restaurant in there, and it was your stories from the restaurant that really sparked my interest in this conversation because I feel like we are all going back to basics, and your word old fashioned just struck a chord with me because I saw that even the superintendent of schools of Louisiana has implemented a back to basics plan where they're doing flashcards and they're doing all the things that we used to do that we know works. And he said we just need to get back to basics, and they're really seeing success there. So I feel like it's okay to be a little old fashioned.
Definitely, definitely. We have to listen and appreciate our customers and our clients. We
Yeah.
wouldn't have a business if we didn't have them. And so we have to acknowledge them, listen to what it is that they're there for. If you have a service industry, if, whatever they're ordering, listen to what they're ordering to be sure that you're getting their order correctly, bringing
Mhm.
it to them on time, and just, this sparked from an example that I gave. I was at a restaurant sitting waiting to be served, and it felt like eternity. And I was just thinking back when we implemented systems before systems were a thing. We were
Right.
1986, so computers were just coming of age, and there wasn't anything like point of sale systems or anything like that. And so we implemented systems where our servers must get to the table in 60 seconds, or
Oh,
they didn't
wow.
have that table. And so
Yeah.
we didn't do sections at all. It was by turn. If you were not capable of getting there in 60 seconds, you didn't get that table. And
Yeah.
so, just that was just one in particular. And so it was the hostess's responsibility to be sure that or waiter server actually got to the table in 60 seconds. And
Yeah.
so I see that, eating out, I see lots of things that I would do differently. I placed an order last week, or tried to place an order on the phone, called and asked for it to be ready like an hour and a half from now, because I was going to be in a meeting. And when I got out, I only had a short period of time. And I was told that they don't take orders in the future. That was the response. You'll have to call back 10 or 15 minutes
Yeah.
before you want it, because we don't take orders in the future. I'm like, oh my
Okay.
goodness.
So next, right? So yes,
Yeah. Like, you don't care about your customer, your client. You have plenty of business. You don't have time for somebody who's very busy, and you're not
yeah,
going to, you know.
yeah.
Those examples are, another one was I received something without the utensil, and I
Oh,
asked, I said, and so the server said, "Oh, my bad."
yeah.
And I'm not used to that sort of language.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like, oh,
you
I'm
know,
sorry. Let me get that for you. Like,
Yes, I didn't realize that you didn't have it. I'll be right back. They
yeah,
deliver the food without the utensils, and then you're just, So just having
yeah.
systems in place, and, if
Training.
it's something you're doing all the time, and I'm picking on restaurants right now
Right.
because I had one, and I do have to say that because we had systems, we were very successful, and
Mm-hmm.
people knew, they came and they were appreciated. We go to restaurants these days and realize that they don't have reservations. You can't, all this stuff. And we would appreciate our customers, where we even had name tags that we put on the table, reserving their table. So just going that extra, because there's just so many
Yeah.
in your industry. You have to stand
Mhm.
out. You have to be available. You have to be accessible. You have to make the experience one that they know that they're appreciated, to where they'll want to come back.
Yeah, you are, yes, because I'm going to show some research in just a minute on this. But I want to say hello to some of our viewers who are chiming in. Lori, thank you so much for chiming in from Lafayette, Louisiana. This is one of your friends, Lori James. We're so
Yes,
glad you're here, Lori. And then we have Carl Shockey, A plus customer service. Listen to what was wrong and what should be the way it was, to what should be the way it was done, and do the right thing. Always, when you do the right thing by others, you're going to create that loyal customer for sure. And of course, Johnny Wine is in the house. Phenomenal and fantastic women coaches, leaders, and even better people. And you are amazing. Thank you for joining us, Johnny. We're so glad you are here. And Lori says, I'm a big fan of Jenny's. She's the real deal. I am a big fan of Jenny's too. So, yes, you are
thank
the real
you.
deal. We are so glad that you are here. But yes, I did some research. I always love to kind of find out what the statistics are out there. What's the science out there behind the topics that that we're talking about today? And so the first research that I found um, says that 78% of consumers will actually come back to a company that made a mistake, if the customer service is excellent. So it's really, you don't have to be perfect. But if you have bad customer service and you make a mistake, like don't want to, or you come with the wrong utensils, and they just said, "Oh, my bad." If they're not going to fix it and really help you, then you're not going to go back. Same thing with not being able to take your reservations. And then the other one is when you have returning customers, when you create those loyal customers that come back, your profits can be, and I mean, just by 5% of increase, your profits can increase by 25 to 95%.
That's
I mean,
huge.
that's huge. But think about the little thing that you did by creating a nameplate, like a desk plate. And if
Yes.
you knew that there was a client that came in every Wednesday morning for breakfast at 8 a.m., that nameplate was on their favorite table.
Yes. We did that.
That let them know that they have a spot, that you
Yes.
care enough to keep their spot open for them. They're going to
Exactly.
be there every Wednesday morning. And so there you do not have to worry about selling that table
No.
because that person is going to be there,
Yes,
right?
exactly. And, we see this over and over again. Every type of industry you can think of has competition out there. And
Yeah.
so, like I said, we're picking on restaurants today. But when
Yeah.
your intent or your plan is to eat a certain thing or a certain restaurant, how many have you passed up? And it's the same in every other industry. You
Yes.
have lots of choices out there today. And so you'll pass up those that didn't answer the phone, didn't
Right.
return your call, didn't listen to your request. It doesn't have to be a special request.
Right.
Some people, businesses take it like, oh, we don't do that. So
Mhm.
listening to your client and being available, being
Yeah.
accessible, replying, returning the call, or at least answering the call.
Mhm.
That it's just
Yeah.
very important in all types of businesses to
Yeah.
actually be available. I've heard so many in real estate as well that people don't answer the phone, don't
Right.
reply, and don't ever call them back. So
Right.
it's a challenge today. If you just do what you're supposed to do, you have a head up above the rest by
And it's
just
little things, right?
little things.
I love that you said earlier that you wanted your servers to be at the table within 60 seconds of a client being seated, of one of your guests being seated.
Yes.
I used
Yes.
to have a plumbing company, and we used to say, answer the phone on the first ring. And if you
Yes.
let it go by 3 rings, we've lost the client. I mean,
Yes.
because there's a plumbing emergency, they're going to hang up.
And they're going
So
to
it's
call the next number.
right, and it's not just the restaurants, it's any business, right?
Yes.
Customers want to feel special. And I wanna chime in. Jamie is in the house. Welcome, Jamie. Says, "Will you make it right?" Oh, yeah, that is so important.
And the
Yes.
customer or client should not have to ask, will you make it right? You
Yeah.
should be volunteering that information. We will make it right. I am so sorry this happened.
Yes.
We're going
Yes.
to make it right. And you let me know, if it's not,
How
we
we
want
can
to make
make
it
it
right.
right.
Yes.
Exactly. I've had to do that too, the plumbing. Toby Beth in the house. Welcome, Toby Beth. It's not old-fashioned service, she says. It's polite human nature to serve. Amen to that. I totally agree.
I
It's what we
guess
should be
we're
doing.
I guess we're calling it old fashioned services because it's far and few between. It's not
Right.
the norm today, and it's just
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, it's
it's it's
different. It's
yes,
different.
it's something that
So,
we're all yearning for, is to
yeah.
have that old fashioned service and being treated
Yes.
with respect. And I see Laurie saying, make me feel important.
Yes.
And
Yes.
when you
Yeah, Mary Kay.
patronize a company, you should see their feeling of you being important to their business, because you do have to
Yes.
remember that their business would not be successful without the customer or the client.
Exactly. I mean, if you don't serve people, then you don't have a business. And Tubby Beth chiming in here, people like to feel seen, heard, and valued. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. And I go back to when you said you called ahead, and they said, oh, we can't do that. We can't do that. If you especially, and I've had this happen to me too before. We used to go to a restaurant every Sunday morning for breakfast before church. We were always in a hurry, because it's like eat and then go because we wanted to get there. And so we were there, and one day we were running late, and we were a regular customer, and we called ahead and said, hey, we want our order, go ahead and get started, we're on our way, we'll be there in a few minutes. They said, we won't start your order till you get here. And I'm like, we're there every week, we're coming. But they wouldn't do it. And so it was disappointing. It was disappointing,
And didn't it make you think I should look for another place to go every morning? And
right?
you see,
It's just like, come
yes,
on, y'all. I mean, really, us. We wanted to have that relationship, right? Chanel says people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Yes, 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 yes. That
yes.
is so true. So true. I want to get back to the research that I found because we talked about what having a positive, good customer service does for the business. It raises your profitability and it's good for your company. But what happens if you don't have good customer service? This was staggering to me. American businesses lose 856 billion, that's with a B, annually due to poor customer service, as more than half of consumers reduce or cease spending with a brand after a negative experience. Oh my goodness, Jeni, I mean, think about all the restaurants that close. I mean, you talked about about your competition and how are you going to stand out? This right here, um, think about all the places that are going out. You have to meet the customer needs, right?
I used to I trained servers for 15 years, and I would tell them that somebody who is coming to the restaurant has passed up numerous, no telling where they've come from. We were off the interstate and people were traveling from all over the world. We were noted for being world famous. And I said, they're passing up all these businesses, and plus they could stay home and get bad service. They're coming here and
Right.
paying us. And your tip starts at 100%, and as you serve them, it could dwindle down to zero. And so
It
keep
could.
that in mind. They do not have to
Yeah.
tip you.
Yeah,
So,
that is so true. And people complain right now about tipping, and I don't mind tipping. I don't mind tipping really for great service. But people complain now because everyone expects a tip. You could just be,
oh,
ordering donuts and they flip that iPad around and they want a tip. And so this has kind of become a tipping economy, right? So we don't always have to tip.
no,
But and sometimes we do it begrudgingly, like, oh, you want a tip, but we do it anyway, but we don't do it because we want to. But what happens if you are just that bright spot in someone's light? In someone's life, and you just say, good morning, how may I brighten your day today? And you make that little bit of just time that you have with them really special, then they will want to tip you. And they'll want to tip you more than just the average tip. So really putting customers first is just advantageous to the company, to you. It just and it creates loyal fans and makes people go out and feel good. At the end of the day, when people have a good customer experience, they leave feeling good about themselves, and you did that.
yes. And
You did.
it fills up my heart to serve others and treat them the way that I want to be treated, just because it comes from the heart. And I know that it's 7 times 7, whenever you're serving, you will get that back. So multiple times, just being a good person and doing the right thing always will always
Mhm.
come back to you. So I'm never
Yeah.
looking for that, instant reward.
Yeah.
It's over the long term where people know that they will,
Yeah.
be served and, be satisfied when the deal is done, or
Mhm.
the service is done. They know that next time it's going to be just as good or better, and they will refer you. They will refer others to you. They will,
Mhm.
repeat business and then referrals. And that's where it all comes from, is by serving your customer and your client right then and there the way that it's supposed to be. And
Yeah.
so we have to start with, our employees, our, agents, our, you know, those that are actually dealing directly with the public that represent our company and our brand. And Julie has one of the most amazing, companies that does that. And that's what connected us in the beginning is I saw that instilled in her, and she's just got a great business, and highly recommend her business to any of the companies that are out there looking for someone on the ground that can work directly with your employees, or your agents, or those that represent you out there in the world.
Thank you. That is so nice. And yes, that is what connected us, because we are so aligned with our values. You mentioned earlier, and I want to go back, that you told a server or somebody at a restaurant, hey, I didn't get the utensils I needed for this particular dish. And the response was, my bad.
And I didn't
I
know if I was going to get the utensil when they said
I know.
that. I was just like, well, what?
So
I'm
yeah,
from the
so
old school. What does that mean?
because it's about you mentioned this, it's how you make them feel. We've talked about this, or people in the chat are chiming in. It's how you make people feel seen and heard. One of my pet peeves is when you express gratitude to someone, and you say thank you for that, and they reply back, no problem. It's like there's a problem with no problem. And
Yeah,
so the problem is when somebody expresses gratitude and the first word out of your mouth is a negative, no, all of a sudden the feeling and the warm fuzzy that they had is diminished. And then when you follow it with the word problem, it means that it could have been a problem. Maybe it wasn't right now, but it could have been. And so the warm, fuzzy feeling that somebody has in saying thank you is diminished. So that's why Chick-fil-A is so successful, is because they're known for my pleasure. Because if somebody says thank you and you say it's my pleasure, people automatically
yeah,
feel good rather
that's
than no problem. If you
a
just
best
weigh that,
response.
and so the how you respond to questions and how you respond to clients really does impact the way they feel about the company.
It does, truly does. I had in my training, and still today, I always recommend positive responses. If you're going to ask someone, "Can I get you something?" You're asking them, and you're nodding, "Yes, can I get you something?" If you say, "No,
Yeah.
you don't want any more of this, do you?" You're
Yeah.
saying no, and
Yeah.
they're going to say no. You're telling them to tell you no. And
Right.
so if it's going to make you work, well, I'm not going to put it on me. If a server feels like they're going to have some work out there to do, and they're, like you just said, they said no problem. So they're, in their mind, they're thinking, this is a problem, what I have to do. I'm, not
Yeah.
happy about doing this today. So when they said no problem, it meant that it was a problem to them. And
Yeah.
so the
Exactly.
negative responses and those things need to be worked out to where you discuss that with your people, your employees, how they respond, what they say. And you brought up a very good point about Chick-fil-A. My pleasure is a beautiful statement, and it makes you feel good. It makes you feel
Mhm.
like they are concerned, and they do want to help you, and they do want you to be satisfied. It's very
Yeah.
important, the words
Yes.
we use. Words
Yes.
matter.
Words matter. And I love that you brought up the nodding of your head, because I love body language. I love to study body language. And there is a trick that you can get someone to say yes. If you say, "Would you like more?" and you're nodding your head, and they'll
Mm.
go, "Yes, I think I would." But if you go, "Would you like more?"
You
and you
don't
nod
want
your
any
head,
more, do
they're
you?
gonna go, "No, thank you. We're good." And so, the body language and the way that you are inviting the response and the way you encourage them, especially if you're a server and you're saying, "Would you like some more?" You're telling them, "I'm happy to get more."
Mm-hmm. See me
Happy.
nodding yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if you go, would you like more?
Yeah, you
Then
don't
they're
want any more, do you?
yeah,
You're
right? That's what you say, even
fine.
though the words that you're saying sound, "Would you like more?" Your head, and we're visuals, right? And we go by what we see and
Mm-hmm.
not what we hear. And so when the body language overpowers the words, we go with the body language.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you brought that up because I think it's really important that we spend time talking to our team members. And like you said, you know, you did training. You trained your people because we have a responsibility as entrepreneurs, as managers, to really teach our team members what it looks like to represent us. You mentioned in here, you know, you have to have a value system, and so when you're talking to your team members, you say, here are our values. You know, and you said respect, honesty, compassion, kindness, transparency. We want to be that of service. And so when you teach that and you model it, then you create that culture. And so, you know, as someone who owns a business, what is it that you really want your customers to feel? And then teach your team members how to model that and with their behaviors and their actions and put the systems in place. And that's what you did.
Exactly. Thank you. With my real estate business, I have independent contractors who are real estate agents, and I instill in them people, they could call any other realtor. They've called you, please answer the phone, be accessible. It's a requirement to be an agent with our company that you
Yeah.
must return all inquiries, however they came in. People message you all over on the different platforms, they email you, they text you, they call you. You
Yes.
must answer or reply within the same business day.
Yes. Yes. Do you know how many companies do not have a system in place to return inquiries? I mean, somebody calls and says, I need an estimate for this project,
Mhm.
and they never hear back from the client. That's part of that $856 billion is being lost by companies because just simply having a system to return those inquiries, to return, follow up with them it's huge.
I know, and we have a step above the rest because we answer the phone. If you're not going to answer the phone, how are you going to get business or not answer these inquiries? And
Right,
so
and that's such a little thing,
I
right? But
know
it's huge.
it's
It's
huge. I hear from our clients in our real estate business that they called this one, that one, they called this, the number on this sign, they called this one, and never got anybody to answer the phone, and plus never returned their phone call. And then they say, and then we called you, you actually answered the phone
yeah,
and
they're like, "Oh,
replied and got us the information that we were looking for. We want you to handle our real estate business. And
yes."
so that is how our business has remained successful because of that number one rule that
Yeah,
we have.
I know. And we talk about back to basics.
Yes. Yes.
Answer the
Isn't
phone.
that so
Answer the
serious?
yes.
But when you can't get a
Janelle,
hold of the company, they don't even answer the phone or reply. It's like you start thinking, do they even exist? Are they in business? I mean, what are they, what's
yeah,
going on?
what's
You know,
going on?
especially because, with the world that we live in, there's not a lot of brick and mortar locations. Everything's in the cloud. So, are these people really real? And so,
Right,
we want our people to know that we're real and we're here for them. So,
right,
I
right.
suggest being
Yeah,
alive and show that
yeah,
you're real in today's
yeah.
world.
Yes, so true. Gosh,
How simple is that?
yes, preach, preach. As Charnel says, this is great information. Toby Beth says, this is insightful. Always lead with the positive. Yes, 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 yes. And Laurie, so sweet. She says, love this. It's common sense. Well, we think it should be. You know, as you're talking about this, you're talking about answering the phones. I have a new favorite saying I heard from Captain Lou on the Marketers Cruise. He said, we have AI today, which is artificial intelligence, and everyone's afraid of artificial intelligence going to take over the world. But you know what's not going to take over the world is AI, is actual interaction. And you actually have a human being pick up your phones and
That's right.
say, hello,
That's right.
how can we help you today? How
Yes.
can we brighten your day? And so, actual interaction is going to win. It's going to win. And I think that's a closing thought for us today is just remember it's about the people and you have to interact and serve. And Jeni, your old fashioned customer service has been huge. What a great conversation we've had today. I'm so grateful for you,
Oh.
and I think that we should probably continue this actual interaction. Love this stealing. I stole it from Captain Luke, so I mean, give Captain Luke. Yes, yes, and I think we should use that. I think we should all use that. I think that to me is common sense.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me today, Julie. I really enjoyed it. And I could talk about this every day, which is what I
Me too.
do with in my own company. Yes.
Yes.
Representing others.
Jenny,
To be
how
there.
can people get in touch with you, especially if you're in the Lafayette area or if you want to work with her as a Ziegler coach? How can people get in touch with you?
Our company is Guidry and Company Real Estate. I have a website, guidryandcompany.com. And I have my cell phone. We have a website. I'm all over on there. LinkedIn profile describes everything. I can be reached. I can give you my cell phone, 337-288-7624.
All right.
Give
Well,
me a
gosh,
call directly. I really appreciate that.
thank you so much for sharing your experience and your tips. The back to basics approach. I think that's going to be with the winning strategy in 2025. Back to basics. Jeni, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing your tips. And I look forward to continuing this conversation soon.
Appreciate it. Thank you,
All right, thank
everybody.
you.
Bye bye.